Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller, James Cross, Sonia Littlehawk Weston, Jackie Sears, Vincent Tulance,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Valerie Janice, Valentina Merdanian, Ryan Jumping Eagle,
Yes.
Bo Little White Man,
Yes.
Chancey Wilson,
Yes.
Philip Goodcrow,
Oh.
Randy Laysbed,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald,
Yes.
Makina Mills,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald,
Yes.
Makina Mills,
Yes.
19 yes, unanimous, motion carried. And then I have about 25 2/3 items from my office. No, I'm just kidding. I got a motion to approve the agenda by Councilman Whitehorse, second by Councilman Jumping Eagle. Madam Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller, James Cross, Sonia Littlehawk Weston, Jackie Sears, Vincent Tulance,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Valentina Merdanian, Valerie Janice, Ryan Jumping Eagle,
Yes.
Bo Little White Man,
Yes.
Chancey Wilson,
Yes.
Philip Goodcrow,
Oh.
Randy Laysbed,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald,
Yes.
Makina Mills,
Yes.
19 yes, unanimous, motion carried. Agenda approved. We have 23 2/3 agenda items added to this agenda, Tribal Council. So we're going to be moving on into our agenda. Number 6 on the agenda is our complaints. And I was told by legal we must go into executive session for those complaints. So I will declare us into executive session at 11:52. So Tribal Council, resuming with our agenda, with the complaints that we came out of executive, we're just going to go by the number in which you received them. So our first one would be complaint number 1. And I got a motion to dismiss and forward to emergency management by Councilman Greenwald. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Apple. Madam Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller,
Yes.
James Cross, Sonia Littlehawk Weston, Jackie Sears, Vincent Tulance,
Yes.
Craig Dillon, no, Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Valerie Janice, Valentina Merdanian, Ryan Jumping Eagle,
Yes.
Bo Little White Man,
Yes.
Chancey Wilson,
Yes.
Philip Goodcrow, Randy Laysbed,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald,
Yes.
Makina Mills,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bearkiller.
No, I was gonna run another motion that somebody from your office work with the TP raisers and go out and check on these concerns that the people have. That's my motion.
Okay, got a motion and a second by Councilwoman Whitehorse. Madam Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller,
Yes.
James Cross. Complaint one. Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ha.
Jackie Sears,
Oh, ha.
Vincent Tulance,
Yes.
Craig Dillon, Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Valerie Janice, Valentina Mardanian,
Oh, ha.
Ryan Jumping Eagle,
Yes.
Bo Little White Man,
Yes.
Chancey Wilson,
Yes.
Philip Goodcrow, Randy Laisbad,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald,
Yes.
Nikina Mills,
Yes.
Eighteen yes, one not voting, motion carried. And in regards to complaint number one, it was 16 yes and 3 not voting. So in regards to complaint number 2, we had a motion to dismiss by Councilman Wilson. And that was to follow the process, correct?
Right. Motion to dismiss with prejudice because the appeals process was not followed.
Okay, so we got a motion to dismiss with prejudice. A second by Councilwoman Whitehorse. Madam Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller,
Yes.
James Cross, Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ha.
Jackie Sears,
Oh, ha.
Vincent Tulance,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Valerie Janice, Valentina Mardanian,
Oh, ha.
The agenda, which is the OLC. Can I get somebody to read that resolution? Councilwoman Mills?
I apologize ahead of time. This is like 4 pages long. I'm sorry. I'm a fast one. It's an ordinance. So ordinance of the Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopting an appeal process for the students of the Oglala Lakota College to appeal student grievance decisions to an Oglala Sioux Tribe administrative law judge through the OST legal department. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopted its constitution and bylaws by referendum vote on December 14, 1935, in accordance with Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, 25 USC 5123, and under Article 3 of the Constitution, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council is the governing body of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. And whereas the pursuit to the Constitution and bylaws of the Oglala Sioux Tribe, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council exercised legislative powers to enact and promulgate resolutions and ordinances. And whereas Article 4, Section 1F of the Constitution of the Oglala Sioux Tribe authorizes the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council to manage all economic affairs and enterprises of the Oglala Sioux Tribe, and Article 4, Section 1W authorizes the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council to adopt laws protecting and promoting the health and general welfare of the Oglala Sioux Tribe and its membership. And whereas Article 4, Section 1T of the Constitution gives the Tribal Council the power to delegate its enumerated powers to subordinate boards or officers, reserving the right to review their actions taken by virtue of such delegated power. And whereas the Education Committee is a standing committee of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council and has been delegated the power to oversee all educational matters on behalf of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council, including those related to the Oglala Lakota College. And whereas the Law and Order Committee is a standing committee of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council and has been delegated the power to oversee all matters relating to the OST Legal Department on behalf of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council. And whereas the Oglala Lakota College is a tribally chartered public corporation of the Oglala Sioux Tribe, chartered to provide educational opportunities to enhance the lives of Lakota people pursuant to Oglala Sioux Tribe Ordinance number 02-14. And whereas the business affairs of the Oglala Lakota College, including the adoption of policies governing the college, are managed by a board of trustees pursuant to Article 5 of the Oglala Sioux Tribe Ordinance number 02-14. And whereas the Oglala Lakota College has adopted a policy governing student grievances to provide students with a method for resolving grievances. And such policy is set forth in Section 86-200, 86-200-1 of the Oglala Lakota College policies. And whereas the Oglala Lakota College has determined that for purposes of meeting the Higher Learning Commission accreditation standards, an additional process for students to appeal grievances decisions of the Oglala Lakota College is necessary to comply with the requirements of 34 CFR 600.9A2II. And whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe has adopted a grievance process for its personnel that provides the right to appeal personnel decisions to an administrative law judge under Chapter 29, Section 29-3, Step 3, and Step 4 of the Oglala Sioux Tribe Personnel Policy, Ordinance number 18-22 as amended. And whereas both motion and vote, the Education Committee and the Law and Order Committee each approved this ordinance and recommended forwarded to Tribal Council for approval and adoption. And whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council agrees with the recommendations of the standing committees and has determined that the use of an administrative law judge for appeals of decisions on a student grievance is the most efficient and objective process to provide Oglala Lakota College students with an appeal process. Now therefore be it ordained that the Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe hereby adopts the following policy governing Oglala Lakota College student grievance appeals.
Do I need to read that too?
So Oglala Sioux Tribe appeals process for the Oglala Lakota College student grievance appeals, Section 1. Students eligible to file an appeal. Any student of the Oglala Lakota College who has filed a complaint or grievance under Oglala Lakota College Policy 86-200, 86-200-1, and has completed all of the steps set forth in Oglala Lakota College Policy 86-200, 86-200-1, but remains dissatisfied with the final determination of the Oglala Lakota College on the grievance shall have the right to file an appeal for the grievance decision to an administrative law judge using the procedures set forth in this policy. Section 2, filing an appeal. A written appeal must be filed with the Oglala Sioux Tribe Legal Department within 5 business days after the student receives written notice of the final decision of the Oglala Lakota College. A copy of the decision being appealed must be attached to the appeal filed with the legal department. A copy of the appeal must also be sent to the Oglala Lakota College Vice President for instruction. The appeal complaint shall contain a clear and concise statement of the matter being grieved and the relief sought by the student. The legal department shall assign an administrative law judge to hear the appeal. Section 3, conduct of an appeal hearing. The administrative law judge shall conduct an appeal hearing within 5 working days after the filing of the student appeal. Day 1 being the first working day following the filing of the student appeal. Notices will be sent by the legal department by mail or email to the Oglala Lakota College Vice President for Instruction and by mail to the student's home address. A student's failure to appear for a scheduled hearing will result in waiver of the opportunity for a hearing. However, submission of written materials may be considered in making a decision. The administrative law judge may develop procedures for appeal hearings. The administrative law judge shall appear in person for all grievance hearings. Full due process shall be afforded to all students in the appeal process. Prior to the hearing, the student and Oglala Lakota College shall have the right to subpoena witnesses. Requests to subpoena witnesses shall be made in writing on a form prescribed by the legal department director and shall be submitted to the legal department director at least 2 days prior to the hearing. Subpoenas may be issued by the legal department director or the administrative law judge. The student shall have the right to appear, to call witnesses, and to present evidence, to be represented by the legal counsel at the student's expense, and to examine and question opposing witnesses and evidence. The Oglala Lakota College shall have the right to call witnesses, present evidence, be represented by counsel, and to examine and question opposing witnesses and evidence at the hearing. The administrative law judge shall have the discretion to order additional hearings if required to make a final determination. Hearings will be recorded and maintained by the legal department. The legal department director and the Oglala Lakota College vice president for instruction and president may obtain a copy of this information. The hearings are closed. The only person permitted to remain in the hearing room are the administrative law judge, legal department representative, who shall act as a clerk, the student's legal counsel, the Oglala Lakota College representative, and their legal counsel, if any. If witnesses are called by either party, they will wait outside the room until called to provide their testimony, and they shall leave the hearing room following their testimony. An administrative law judge shall recuse himself or herself from hearing or deciding any case in which he or she has a conflict of interest or about which he or she has personal knowledge. In case of reclusion, an alternative administrative law judge shall be appointed. Section 4, decision of the administrative law judge. The administrative law judge shall render a final written decision concerning the student's appeal within 3 working days after the hearing date, day 1 being the first workday following the hearing. The legal department shall serve the final written decision of the administrative law judge on all parties. The administrative law judge shall have the authority to affirm or reverse the decision of the Oglala Lakota College. The administrative law judge shall not have the authority to order or impose disciplinary action on the student or on Oglala Lakota College personnel, or to order or implement remedial measures by Oglala Lakota College, except for any matter in which the administrative law judge determines that the Oglala Lakota College violated a specific law of the Oglala Sioux tribe, and then only to the extent required to ensure Oglala Lakota College compliance with the laws of the Oglala Sioux tribe. The administrative law judge may make a recommendation that disciplinary action be imposed upon the student or Oglala Lakota College personnel, or the remedial measures be implemented for a student. But any such recommendation shall be advisory in nature and shall not be binding on Oglala Lakota College. The Oglala Lakota College may, in its discretion, implement a recommendation of the administrative law judge or impose other disciplinary actions on its personnel or implement other remedial measures or take no action. For purpose of this section, remedial measures shall include but shall not be limited to placing a student in a different course or with a different instructor when circumstances warrant such a measure. The decision of the administrative law judge shall be final. There shall be no judicial review of administrative law judge decisions. Section 5, grounds for dismissal of an appeal. The appeal shall be dismissed with prejudice if the student voluntarily withdraws the appeal. To the extent possible, such decision shall be in writing and submitted to the legal department director within 2 working days prior to the appeal hearing, so the administrative law judge can be notified in a timely manner. Be it further ordained that the Oglala Sioux Tribal Secretary shall forward a copy of this ordinance to the Oglala Sioux Tribe Legal Department and to the Oglala Lakota College of the Office of the President and the Oglala Lakota College Board of Trustees. Be it further ordained that the Oglala Lakota College shall be responsible for payment of the responsible cost of the appeals filed by students under this ordinance upon receipt of an invoice for services. Be it further ordained that the tribal president and Oglala Sioux Tribe Legal Department are directed to take all action necessary to implement this ordinance, including negotiate a memorandum of understanding with the Oglala Lakota College to carry out the provisions of this ordinance, including payment for reasonable costs and subjects to final appeal by the executive committee, advertise and enter into a contract with administrative law judge or alternate administrative law judges to carry out the provisions of this ordinance, and subject to final appeal of the contract by approval of the contract by the executive committee. Be it further ordained that this ordinance shall become effective immediately. Certification. Motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second by Councilwoman Bearkiller. Madam Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller,
Yes.
James Cross, Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ha.
Jackie Sears, Vincent Tulens,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Valerie Janice, Valentina Merdanian,
Oha.
Ryan Jumping Eagle,
Yes.
Bo Little White Man,
Yes.
Chancey Wilson,
Yes.
Philip Goodcrow, Randy Laisbad,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald,
Yes.
Nakina Mills,
Yes.
18 yes, 1 not voting, motion carried. Thank you for reading that, Councilwoman Mills. Moving on to number 7 on the agenda, the Aberdeen Area Indian Health Service Pioneer Service Unit. Councilman Goodcrow.
Good afternoon. I'd like to get the floor for Rhonda Two Eagle. She wants to address the council. Would that be okay?
You want to yield the floor to her?
Yes.
That's okay, Councilman.
Okay. Rhonda?
Good afternoon, Tribal Council and the tribal members from Retchard Village. You're a long way from everything, so I commend all the people here who have to travel far to get just your basic needs, and I applaud you. I wanted to address the council today. I filed a complaint last administration. No hearing was ever set up. So then I redressed this new council coming in, and they approved of it. So I waited for a hearing, and each time something came up, and I still, to this day, was never given a written notice other than the first time it was rescheduled. And then I called the tribal secretary last week, and I said, am I gonna get on the agenda? And she said, I'll put you down for the end of the month. So I've been checking mail every day thinking that maybe they were going to set it up. But I'm here today, and I hear all the complaints that have been brought before you. And so I guess now I'm asking, since you already accepted the complaint, all I need is a hearing, a date when I can actually bring my stuff for the council to hear. That's all I'm asking. Wopila Tranka.
I have received the complaint to my office, and after we were going to hear it at the meeting we had back in March, I believe, when we had it at the casino, and that's when the housing charter was pulled, which the complaint was against, and Ms. Two Eagle came and asked me to just hold off on her complaint because it was part of that, due to that, connected to the charter, or to the program. So I did pull it back, which it wasn't formally resubmitted.
Councilman Greenwald.
Chair, that issue was brought up in our last HHS committee meeting, and there was a motion to dismiss the complaint because the tribe is moving in a new direction now. The charter has been suspended, and while it's under suspension until we figure out what's going on with the audit findings, we will be re-advertising that position eventually here soon, and we'll decide if we're going to keep it under a charter or if we're going to move it under the tribe. But that complaint was addressed in our last HHS committee meeting. And so hopefully that should be coming to the Secretary's office.
Thank you, Councilman Greenwald.
No. Rich.
In actual fairness to my complaint, I've been in the tribal system for 12 years. I know how the process works, and there has to be follow-up. You can't just leave it sitting there on the table. And I don't want to say anything against the secretary, but she herself told me, I have it recorded on my phone, she told me that housing asked to postpone that hearing at the Prairie Wind Casino. And so she said, when it's set up, I'll get back to you. And then a couple days later, and she's sitting back there also, Stacy called me. And she said, they put it off, they're gonna set it for another day. I also have that on my phone. So if HHS is making that recommendation, you can't go above the tribal council action. You're a recommending body. So to be fair, all I'm asking is for a day to be heard. And the other thing the tribal secretary also told me was couple of the council, she said, asked me if you still want your complaint to be heard because they addressed the issues you stated in your complaint. And I said, that's when I said, let me think about it and I'll get back to you. Well, I got back and I called her several times, and maybe it was just the day I called, I don't know, but she was not there. So I know she's seen my phone number on there. But either case, the bottom line is you addressed the concerns I had, and I thank you for it as a council. And you grabbed the bull by the horns and ran with it, and I'm glad you did, and I thank you. But the bottom line is still, I was still discriminated against. This is a federal program, and no matter what, you still have to address that discrimination. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston.
You know, I just want to say that I think Ms. Two Eagles is correct, and I think that when anything is filed to this tribal council, it belongs to tribal council. It doesn't belong to the committee, it belongs to tribal council. So we're the ones that are supposed to make that decision to either listen to it or not listen to it. But I do remember it coming to the tribal council, and it was, we were told it was going to be held onto because of the issues going on with housing, the charter and all of that. But then again, I think that this governing body still needs to deal with it. So I don't, you know, I do kind of recall what it was about because it came from last administration. And it did go to HHS committee. HHS committee brought it to the tribal council. And at the time, I think Ms. Sears is probably aware of it because she's raising her hand. So she was on the committee last administration. So maybe you could kind of shed some light on this.
Councilwoman Sears.
Yes, I think I addressed that at the time, last administration, because of the housing and what happened with the hiring process of the CEO position at that time. And I think Ms. Two Eagle is one of the applicants and didn't feel like the process was being followed in order to hire. So I did bring that. I think I made a motion to waive that that sovereign immunity part for employees to at least go to court to address this process. But instead, that didn't pass. Council decided to take action and set it up for a hearing. So that's the last that became of that.
Councilman Goodcrow.
Thank you, Chairman. So what, do I need to entertain a motion, or would the secretary set up a hearing?
Hearing, yep. You have to motion it.
I can go ahead and set up the hearing.
Okay, thank you.
It's already council action from last time.
Councilwoman Whitehorse?
Okay, the complaint was against the charter and the board, and there's no more charter or board. So who is the hearing going to be set up for? Because the charter was brought back under HHS and the board was removed. So I don't understand where the complaint would go. If HHS took action on it, then I think that maybe HHS needs to bring their action forth, because otherwise, who is the complaint going to be against? And who is the hearing going to be set up with? HHS committee?
I guess we could just set it up with the HHS committee. Councilwoman Merdinian?
Just for clarification purposes, because council took that action, council has to have a hearing and listen to her complaints. Whether we can take any action because it's after the fact, we still give her the due process of hearing her out. So that's all we need to do as council, is set up the hearing, listen to her complaint.
Okay, I mean, yeah, and that's what I mean, because with the hearing, you should have the complainant and, you know, whoever the complaint is on. So I guess HHS will step in on that behalf, since now they're in charge of that entity.
It could be like a legislative oversight hearing if you want to do it that way. It's not calling for the removal or impeachment of anyone.
Right.
It could be a legislative oversight hearing. You know, I mean,
Councilman Jumping Eagle?
I think the secretary said she'll set up a hearing, so let's just move on. This ain't even on the agenda. You know, out of respect for Ms. Two Eagle, though, I think Jennifer should set up a hearing.
Councilman Goodcrow, you were just gonna try to make or do a motion, but how about a hearing in 48 hours to get this done and over with?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to go ahead and entertain a motion to continue Rhonda's complaint on tribal council whenever our secretary could set up a schedule for Rhonda, and we'll go have a hearing on that particular issue.
Okay.
That's my motion.
Okay, so I got a motion, and do I have a second? Second by Councilman Apple. Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
No.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller, James Cross, Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ha.
Jackie Sears,
Oha.
Vincent Tulance,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Cora Whitehorse,
not voting.
Valerie Janice, Valentina Merdanian, Ryan Jumping Eagle,
Yes.
Bo Little White Man,
Not voting.
Chancey Wilson,
I don't know what we're voting on, I guess. There's no charter. No.
Philip Goodcrow,
Oh,
Randy Laisbed,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald,
No.
Nikina Mills,
Yes.
Yes. 14 yes, 3 no, 2 not voting, motion carried. Thank you. IHS. Oh, she wasn't gonna make it, right? Oh, Councilman Yellowhawk.
Yes, I think we should stick to the agenda. I think all these other issues that have happened in the past should have been taken care of. Somebody dropped the ball on the way. I think we, put aside some of these things and let the committees handle that stuff and get it done. With that, I think we should move more forward and we got a lot of business to do today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Killsmall, Janice, do you want to let the council? She's not going to make it, but we have her report.
For Barbara Asher, she said she was. Jackie had called and said the liaison, or she's a tribal liaison. Big Crow, Miss Big Crow, she called and said that. She texted me and sent me an email saying that the the hospital director wouldn't be here today, but she did give a written report to the secretary.
Okay. So we'll be moving on to the Oglala Sioux Lakota Nursing Home. Oh, correction, BIA, sorry about that. Mr. Long?
Yeah. Yeah, we're done. Good afternoon, everybody. Our report's fairly quick. I think the one probably pressing issue that I've talked to several of you on the side about is the general assistance program. I've talked to quite a few of you last week. We basically ran out of money within that program, so there actually is going to be no general assistance. I did submit a RAF, which is a request for extra funding, in the amount of $800,000 on the week of May 6th. I've just emailed the region to see if they'd gotten word from central office to see if we've been approved. As soon as we get word that we're approved, I'll definitely come let the tribe know. And our social service staff are going to go out to the districts and start re-signing people back up to get the program going again. But as of this point right now, no funding is available in the general assistance program. Any questions? I know that's not what we want to hear. Believe me, it frustrates me as well. But as soon as I get word that they're going to approve or give us the amount that we're approved for, we'll put a notice out on Keeley and get out to the districts and let everyone know so we can start taking applications again. Good.
Glenn.
Councilman Gibbons.
Thank you, Chair. So who makes this decision, Mr. Long?
On the approval of the RAF?
Yeah.
That would be the lady in Washington. I don't remember what her name is. I was told there was only 3 reservations in this region that submitted RAFs, so there's only 3 of us that asked for additional funding. So hopefully that bears well for us and our program here in our GA. Second issue, which is always interesting conversation, is our safety of dams program. Last week, the week before, and actually this week, we've had Bureau of Reclamation staff on site at Oglala doing different testing. Last week, if you'd happened to see out to Oglala, we actually had some drones flying, and what they were doing is photographing the dam area. And as I understand it, talking to our engineers, those photographs are going to be part of the design process to redesign Oglala Dam. New spillway, new pump house, new outlets, and that's just part of the process in talking to those folks. Right now, our major concern is white clay. White clay, basically, long story short, white clay has caught up to Oglala as far as the issues that we're seeing. So we've spent the last 2 weeks out in white clay with multiple pumps trying to keep that water below the spillway. We're not draining it. I made that very clear. We're not draining white clay. We're just trying to keep the water below the spillway so we don't have those void issues as bad as we had them in Oglala. So,
Thank you. Mr. President, I guess my question, and I'm glad you kind of are talking about it. People are saying we're really concerned about the White Clay Dam, you know, when it was kind of flooding over, where it's kind of rising. But then people notice that the water is receding. So they were kind of, what happened to the water? It's kind of, where's it going? I mean, is it going downstream? I mean, what you said you did something over at White Clay Dam.
Yeah. What we've started doing a couple weeks ago at White Clay Dam and is we start pumping water out of the inlet over the spillway to keep it below the peak of the spillway. We did find voids in that spillway at the same time we did the Oglala testing, but because there's 3 creeks flowing into White Clay from Nebraska, we honestly haven't been able to keep up. We've had pumps, we created siphons. The engineers are concerned that because of the amount of water flowing over White Clay, if you remember back in March, our high point of our water flow over White Clay was 22 inches above spillway. Oglala got to be about 10 inches. But we're trying to keep it below the spillway level just to avoid any further damage to White Clay spillway, because right now, talking to the engineers, the only dam that's got the attention of the budget folks and the emergency management officials in DC is Oglala. So I don't know, you can look at it 2 ways. If we get to that point in White Clay, hopefully they'll find the money like they did for Oglala. You know, Oglala, as I was told, they were going to come up with $9 million to redo Oglala Dam. So the benefit, I guess, if you look at it on the positive side, is that if we continue to have issues with White Clay Dam, they may reach out and try to find that money so we can do both rehabs at the same time. So, but we're trying to keep it below the spillway. I know the rumors get crazy. The only positive, I guess, that came out of it is kids were fishing at the spillway and getting walleye, which was kind of shocking because the walleye came all the way from Oglala back to White Clay. So we're not going to drain it. You know, I stressed that enough. I said the tribe will have me hanging in the intersection at the 4-way if I drain White Clay. So I reassured Mason back there, because we have fishing tournaments scheduled for the summer, that we're not draining White Clay, and it's just going to be lowered enough to keep the water off the spillway. Yeah.
Do I have anything further for Mr. Long?
Essentially, that's our report, folks. It's pretty quiet. If I had more, there was one issue I wanted to address, and we kind of brought it up in land, but I think we'll probably revisit it in land. It is the bond issue with the tribe. That we've had multiple conversations going back and forth on what ability the tribe has to require a bond and to forfeit a bond. Long story short, the purpose of a bond in our leasing program is to make sure the tribe has assurances that they're going to be paid, or their landowners are going to be paid. We're trying to figure out, we'll have more discussion, but my staff are explaining that the tribe can waive a bond on 100% tribally owned land, but the sliding scale that we use depends on the ownership percentage of the tribe and individual Indian landowners. Talking to Patty, our realty officer, she explained that if it doesn't meet that sliding scale, we have to let the landowners, individual landowners, know that they can either opt out or stay in with the waiver of the bond. I'll give you a quick number. I'm going to give the actual names to Land Committee next week. But here's an example, and this is what I really stress to the tribe to take this into consideration when you guys passed 1911. From February till today, we had 19 people that we issued cancellation notices on, and that's for not paying your lease, not paying your permit. You went out and bid on this land and you didn't pay for it. That bond is kind of the tribe's reassurance and the Bureau's reassurance that those landowners are going to be paid. Of those 19 individuals that didn't pay, I'm going to put it out there because I know that was a concern, that we need to promote our Indian contractors, which I totally support. 18 of those non-payments were tribal members. So keep that in mind. Now, I mean, I know we'll get more into it next week at Land Committee, but we had 18 tribal members who didn't pay and were issued cancellation notices on their leases. And then we start the process all over again because we have to put it out for bid, and it goes that much further. And I got a little lady that calls me almost daily wanting to know where her payment is, and I have to be the one that tells her, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to get your money back from the bond. That case there, we did notify the bank to release the bond so we can pay that lady for her lease. So he wasn't happy, obviously, the gentleman, but I said, you know what, we give you a time frame to pay your lease. You're expected to pay your lease to the tribe and to landowners. So I just wanted to put that out just so you folks know about it.
Mr. Long, I have a quick question about the general assistance. Were you able to find the funding for that?
I requested, like I said earlier, I requested 800,000 from our central office level, and I emailed our social services supervisor, hoping for a response. The regional director just answered me and said they had not received word from DC if we've been approved. Like I was telling the folks, the benefit is there was only 3 tribes in this region that requested extra money, us being one of them. So I think that bodes well for our tribe to be able to get that extra money that we need to carry us through the rest of this calendar year. But I'll definitely keep you folks informed as soon as I hear. I know I get texts from a couple of you. If I get it any quicker, I'll text you and make sure you know right away as soon as I hear.
Thank you, Mr. Long.
Yep.
Councilwoman Merdanian?
Just a quick question. Where are we at with the high tunnel projects?
That request was sent up. I'll follow up today with the regional director. It was sent up to the region along with the letter, and I'll see if they made a decision on finding the available funding for you, and I'll let you know.
Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston.
Just a question for those landowners, those tribal, the ones that are leasing the land. What happens next since they didn't follow up with what needed to get done? Are you just giving them another chance to renew their lease?
Those ones that were issued cancellation notices, their leases were canceled. So the process now is that they would have to be put out for bid again, unless we have someone that comes in and claims IP during that period. We start the process all over again, basically, is we have to put it out for bid. So it's just extending that period where folks are going to get their lease money on their land. So.
Motion.
Motion
to approve.
Motion to approve, second by Councilman Wilson. Motion by Councilman Jumping Eagle. Madam Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller,
Yes.
James Cross,
Yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ha.
Jackie Sears,
Uh-huh.
Vincent Tulance,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Valerie Janice, Valentina Merdanian,
Oha.
Ryan Jumping Eagle,
Yes.
Bo Little White Man, Chancey Wilson, Philip Goodcrow,
Oh,
Randy Laisbad,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald,
Yes.
Nikita Mills.
19 yes, unanimous, motion carried. Councilman Cross.
This is for John. Before you leave, would a council action help address our concern with the general assistance people or recipients? Would that help?
I'll say it wouldn't hurt. I wouldn't hurt if I had support. Just letting you know that you support the Bureau's mission as far as general assistance.
With that, I want to make a motion that we get a letter of support or some type of resolution or something to address our needs here with general assistance.
Okay, got a motion and a second by Councilwoman Killsmall Janice.
A resolution?
Resolution supporting Mr. Long in obtaining the funding for the general assistance. Madam Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller,
Yes.
James Cross,
Yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ha.
Jackie Sears,
Uh-huh.
Vincent Tulance,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Valerie Janice, Valentina Merdanian,
Oha.
Ryan Jumping Eagle,
Yes.
Bo Little White Man,
Yes.
Chancey Wilson,
Yes.
Philip Goodcrow,
oh,
Randy Laisbad,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald,
Yes.
Nikita Mills,
Yes.
19 yes, unanimous, motion carried. Thank you, Councilman Cross. Tribal Council, we need to take one step back. I was not aware that we moved them up on the agenda, but I guess we did Under the IHS report, Part A, motion to add the Rapid City community onto the report of the Indian Health Service, and B, motion to add Geraldine Church, Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health Board onto the report by the Indian Health Service. So we'll be moving on into the Rapid City community. Yeah, they're up to bat now.
Julian. When I got the phone call the other day, I think Miss Porthunder was the one that said she was going to represent Rapid City, unless that's changed since you called the other day. So, yeah, Shirley.
Councilwoman Whitehorse.
Is Jewel here? Is she going to make her report before we go to IHS?
She said she wasn't going to make it, but she did. That's what the secretary passed out was.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Oh, pilamayam. Level omonkiapki. My name, and I'm going to talk Washington now. So my name is Shirley Porthunder, and I'm also an Oglala Sioux tribal member. I'm an elder, as you can see. I'm also a 5th generation Red Cloud. And I would be remiss to not bring this forward because my grandfather signed that 1868 treaty. And my family has said, speak up for us, so I'm speaking up today. That treaty says that we're supposed to get health, education, and welfare. And we have never received all of those services from the United States government. And you're paying $5 million to lawyers, which I see you have sitting up there, to fight for efforts of our tribe. Well, I'd like to see those efforts be made that we get 100% of our funding or 150% across the board with IHS, with the social services, and with education. It's not happening. Presently, we get 40% of funding across the board for all direct service tribes. And that's not doing it for us. We're getting chicken feed, but at least we're getting services. And the Rapid City community, I'm not a board member. Marlis Minor is, who's sitting to my right. And I agreed to be one of the elders on the board by when our elders in our community asked me to step forward because of my experience in Indian Health Service and my knowledge of knowing how things are supposed to be ran in the government. I spent 22 years in the government. So I agreed to do this. I did not agree to be the spokesperson, but today I guess I am. And what I wanted to bring to your attention is, number one, something that Councilman Wilson brought to my attention. When I was talking about what was happening in Rapid City, the first proposal that was submitted by the tribal chairman, the Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health Board, was declined. The second proposal that was submitted was not even brought to this council's floor, or to the Rosebud Sioux Tribe's floor, council floor, or to Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe's floor. So right to me, that's a grounds to dismiss this and rescind. Secondly, the regulations, and you can ask your attorney up there, say specifically, when you are doing a 638 regulation proposal, it's supposed to be by elected tribal council or tribal organization people. The people that are sitting on your uniformed and you're supporting the Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health Board's board was never elected by the Rapid City community. They were selected after an application was submitted. So that again is not online with the regulations. The second thing that I want to say is there are implications of this. a big implication for our Rapid City community and for our tribal people. Because the project justification document and the program of requirements have already been submitted to Congress, and that's where it was approved and the allocation was made for the facility in Rapid City. That could be jumped now, pulled aside, and we would lose everything. It's not the Rapid City community's fault. It's because we did not, as tribal people, have the opportunity to look at the pros and cons of what is going on. So let's not point fingers, and let's try to get this resolved in a way that is going to benefit our tribal people. I'm not going to get into that. And so the implications right now, in my understanding from one of my sources, is that Congress has said, if you cannot come to an agreement and the 60-40 split or the 70-30 split continues, we can jump over that and go to the next tribe. There is a list that IHS has and Congress has that says who's up next for the next allocation. And I think your attorney up there can tell you that. So that's where we are now. That's a big implication for our Rapid City community and for our tribes. We do not want to see that. So we hope that you would rescind your consideration or rethink this. The third thing is that I would like to say that this proposal was never shared with the Rapid City community. There were 2 meetings held, and I'll let Marla speak on that, saying that they're, the Tribal Chairman's Health, and I'm calling them the Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health Board, the Tribal Chairman's Health Board, was those people were selected by them off an application. Number 3 is that I feel that the area director, who has a responsibility for making this final decision to either approve or decline this proposal, is tainted. He shouldn't have been meeting with the tribes. He shouldn't have been meeting with the IHS staff, and because he has the final approval to either approve or decline. And as far as I'm concerned, he's tainted. So whatever way this is going, and if it goes for approval, I hope that you will take a look at that. My next thing is that there are the 60-40 split and the 70-30, whatever it is, I don't know what it is, I'm confused by now, is not appropriate and is going to disparage health services to our people, it's going to diminish services to our people, and is not a really appropriate way to handle health care. We already get chicken feed from Indian Health Service at 40%. And so with that 40% chicken feed we're getting, you want to split it? They get $46 million at Susan. $13.2 million is what they collected in third-party resources from Medicaid, Medicare, and private insurance. It isn't enough. That's $58 million, and then you want to split it? And they have already determined that the floors will already be designated from the IHS services and the Great Plains Tribal Chairman. Our people are confused. People are panicking in the community. I couldn't even go to the store Friday night when I was approached by 10 community people talking about the disparity of services, complaining, and one elderly lady crying because her Takosha was under heart care. She said, what am I going to do? I can't afford this, and I can't afford the medicine. And I'm from Rosebud. I told her, no, you will still have health care. Is this what I hope? People aren't approaching you and saying to you the same thing. But this is just one example. But there were 10 people that came up to me and talked to me that night. The other issue that I want to bring is that I don't like this split. I don't like to see this dissension and this diversion amongst our tribes. This is ridiculous to be pitting against each other. You should have been at the table and you should have all discussed this. You should have looked at the pros and cons and then went forward instead of pointing fingers. This one's watching Coing and that one's watching Coing, or this one don't understand and that. That's not a way to handle Indian issues. So with that, I want to say that I have to say that we need to take a look at what we're doing, reorganize, and quit this power playing. Well, the patients at Susan are panicking, the staff are panicking, and this isn't a time to be pointing fingers. We just need to sit down at this board. And I mean, I would ask the council to rescind this or to at least table it before you make your decision that's going to have great impact on this Indian nation and our people. And with that, Pila Maya for letting me speak. Wopila Tunka. I'd like Marlis Minor to say something next, please.
Oh, thank you for letting us have the floor here. Can you hear me? I'm from the Rapid City Indian community, and I'm here to ask you to please rescind your motion to support the 638 contract. Most of the Rapid City Indian community are not for it. Our health services are at stake here. We need better health care. We know that, but right now our services are diminishing. Our people are leaving Susan. We're in limbo. We don't know what is going to be going on with our health care. I'm asking you for the Native people now and our future, for our children and our elders. Thank you for hearing me.
Was that everybody that you needed there, Councilman Wilson?
Ms. Porthunder was the only one that had contacted me, but
Yeah, she's next, but I mean, the councilman here was the one that made the motion for the Rapid City community, and he identified, I don't know.
I see Mr. Zimica would like is raising his hand. So.
Okay.
Hamidakiapi chate washte na pe chuza yelo. Wachi tanka imichiapi. That name was given to me in 1981 when I finished my doctorate at Harvard University at Wakpamani. There was probably about several Wichasha Wakam people. And I was really honored to be given this name. I look at this council today and I appreciate the hard work you do for the people. It's not easy. I appreciate that you're inclusive. I have come here not to complain. I have come here to give you my thought concerning Rapid City. Miniluza Otoahe is our homeland. I come from Waha, it's called Wajajaha people. One of the bands that is from Allen and from those areas. Why I'm telling you this is because I want to make you aware and within your concern when you vote, that be aware of 638, which is a noun now, but it came underneath a presidential doctrine called self-determination. And that doctrine said that they would give the tribes the opportunity to run their own governments, if approved. But it had to meet standards. I would like you to be aware that sometimes you need to look at those standards that are set up. those standards that are there for your protection. You have a number of 638 contracts within schools and in your own IHS hospitals. Those contracts have to be, you have a contract officer, and I don't need to tell you about them because you have done that. But I want to say that sometimes you get eager. We look at something that has been developed in the Rapid City community since when all the other reservations received new hospitals. Rapid City community, they started their own community. I wish you would recognize them. They have come to me, people, and saying, what are we going to do? And I said, I don't know. All I know is that this is an issue before us. All I know is that we must some way come to a compromise, some way to have inclusion. And also, we need to have also a way that we can have a clear understanding is what is at stake. And I hope and I know you've heard about this, and I hope that each and every one of you remember that that decision is big, because there is 25,000 folders up there. And I would just like to say that whatever conclusion you come to, that it will affect us, those that live there. Yesterday, I visited Sturgis with all your relatives buried there in mine. There are more Lakota graves up there within people that come from Pine Ridge that are laying up there in hollowed ground. These people helped set what we have today. And I know many of your families, and I've known many of their work in the past that has given you this opportunity to serve the council in the Oglala Nation. With that, I support things that we can do it in a right way, not circumvent others. Transparency. Be honest within yourself. Lakota values I learned was don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, and don't disrespect. Those are important values. For your name will be on that. And as Nidakiapi, search your hearts and your soul, for we need you as much as you need the people, my Lakota people and yours in Rapid City.
Jante washtena pe Jews Zumi lavabaga emachiapye. When I was a little girl, I lived with my grandma 9 miles north of Manderson, way out in the country. And when it was time for me to go to first grade, she said, "You're going to be a scout." And so I come here today to give you my scout report. This is for all of us Oglalas. This is my scout report. Our enemy is still the same enemy. Our enemy is still the United States government. And the United States government, through the Indian Health Service, has been playing you. They're trying to fool you into believing that the Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health Board is really with the tribes, but it's not. 2 weeks ago in the Native Sun newspaper, I gave the legal report about where it legally tells that Great Plains, quote, Tribal Chairman's Health Board is with the IHS. So the tribes are not involved in this. The tribal chairmen are not involved with the Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health Board. That Tribal Chairman's Health Board should be called the Great Plains IHS Health Board. And I agree with all the things that everybody said here ahead of you. But when I first learned that, it made me feel bad, because we all might have differences of opinion on things. But to me, because you are all Oglalas, you are all my relatives. And so I feel bad. I don't want you to be played. I don't want the United States government to be playing you, and they are. They needed tribal resolutions before they could do a 638 contract. And those 638 contracts are not valid off the reservation, but they never told you that. They tricked you into believing by having these tribal resolutions, giving the Great Plains IHS Health Board the administrative authority, then they could take over the Susan. And that's what they did. They have played you. They have tricked you. It is just like the Iktomi and the duck story. And so please, I'm asking all of you, open your eyes. Open your eyes. IHS is tricking you into doing this. Rescind that resolution to 638 the Susan Hospital, because IHS is tricking you. I'm warning you, please, as a scout, I'm coming here to tell you, you're going to hurt so many of our people if this continues. Already we have been threatened with the loss of the $117 million construction money. That's going to be gone because of this disruption that's happening at Susan. So I come here today with my scout report. This is my scout report for you. Rescind that resolution. They're playing you. They're playing you. And it's the IHS. It's the U.S. government, our original enemy. Wopila Tanka. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Councilman Wilson, is that everybody that you have?
Hi, I didn't ask for this, but thanks, Glenn. My name is Maggie Ross, and I actually just came up. I was interested in what was going on with all the complaints on the agenda, and then also all of this stuff going on with Susan. Maybe some of you guys are like this too, but some of us are transient people. And I lived in Rapid City for a time, and I'm a patient of Susan. My children are patients of Susan, and so are my grandchildren. I'm also a patient of Pine Ridge and of Eagle Butte. And so I'm really concerned about this process. I thought it was over in January or whenever Rosebud pulled out. I thought this was over, and so I was off focusing on my life and my own academics, and then just the other day it was brought back that this was happening. And not only is Rapid City saying that they didn't get to vote on this, or they don't even have representation on this or a voice on it, as tribal members, we don't on the reservation either. I was just told that the Cheyenne River had taken out a petition to stop this movement, and they had received enough signatures and they had filed it today, and so they get to vote on it. I watched Rosebud Sioux Tribe's council meeting, and they had passed a motion that they were going to file an injunction against this action. I wish that I had known sooner, because I would have done the same thing that Cheyenne River did. I would have created a petition and took it around. Healthcare is really important. And I know some of you guys have worked hard on this in many years or whatever, but at the same time, it's our healthcare. Mrs. Porthunder was talking about the treaty, and I think Ms. Whiteface was talking about the treaty also, and I think Dr. Zimica talked about the treaty. In the treaty, it says that the government would provide. It didn't say anything about the Oglala Sioux Tribe would provide, or Rosebud, or Great Plains Tribal Chairman Health Board. Any of them would provide health care, that the government would do it. And so I wanted to remind you of that. And then also, because healthcare is such an important issue, that we, the people, should be involved in that process. I know we vote for you and we elect you to sit here to represent us, but on things like this, I think our voices should be heard too. My representatives, they don't even come talk to me about healthcare. Like, what does this mean and how should we vote? And it just seems like all of this stuff is really divisive. And it makes us fight each other. And you guys are good people. And you have opinions, we have opinions. And I don't want to be fighting with anybody, but I really think that this is such an important issue that you should either stop the action now and then start over and let us vote on it. Give it to us and let us tell you. And then if we vote and say, yeah, go ahead and do that to Susan, then you can go ahead and do that. But if you guys are really courageous and if you're really strong in your belief, you would do it. You would say, let's give it to the people and let's let them decide. Because you would know that we support your decision and we would come back favorably in that. And so I just ask you guys to think about it and encourage you to rescind the action. I know Rosebud is, they were saying in their thing that they were filing an injunction. I don't know if that was done today or if it was done on Friday. But in that process, it just seems like this is all just chaotic. And we're all just fighting over something that really doesn't even belong to you guys, and it doesn't belong to Great Plains Tribal Chairman Health Board. It belongs to the people. And you guys all have children and grandchildren that you need to be thinking about and what's going to happen here. And then maybe next year in your planning session, you can come back and you can put together a better document and you can get people input. I mean, I would even like to have conversations about how do we improve healthcare. I know I heard my friend, Mr. Greenwald, was talking about where were the people. Well, we're here. And I'm willing to sit on any committee and volunteer my time to talk about improving healthcare, not only in Pine Ridge, but at Susan too. I do it. I volunteer my time all the time. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Glenn, for giving me the mic. This kind of is odd walking around like this.
Not really.
Anybody else, Mr. Gibbons?
Yes, there is. Hold on, Chairman.
Good afternoon. My name is Lynn Poyer. I'm an OST member. Most of you have received a text message from me informing you that I would not have a job with this going through. I ask you to think about some of the other employees that this might affect. But I want to tell you my story. I lived on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation most of my life until I graduated from Red Cloud School. I then went on to college in Rapid City, and I wanted to make that my community after I finished school. After I finished school, I went to work at Susan Hospital for an internship and for an emergency hire. While I worked there, I decided that that's where I wanted to live and that's where I wanted to work. So I came back to Pine Ridge Reservation and I served in the IHS for 4 years, and then I went to the Indian Health Service at the Aberdeen area. I then came back to back to Rapid City to work, to be closer to my family. I lived in Rapid City for 20 years. I'm now in a situation where I am not very healthy and I depend on my family members to help me. It was my intent to finish out my career in Rapid City and retire in Rapid City, where I would be close to my family. I was not offered an IPA. I may not have a job. I was told by the Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health Board that I would have a job. We would all have jobs. That's not going to be the case. But I also want to speak to you about the fact that Ms. Church has not been very honest with all of you. I sent that text message. I didn't hear back from any of you but one of you. And one of you wanted to defend Miss Church. One of those people that responded to me is my relative. It's created some problems in my family now. This is happening to other people, not just me. I'm very disappointed in the fact that you didn't come to our community and listen to us when you were asked. This does affect us. Not you, us. I appreciate being given the time to speak here today, and I'm grateful for everybody that stood up and spoke here on our behalf. You guys could have had a meeting in Rapid City and invited us to speak then, and we wouldn't be interrupting your council meeting. Yeah, we don't vote for you. You don't count on us to vote for you. But you still work for us because we're still your people. And I ask you to remember that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and the council, I just wanted to bring to your attention that one of my sources has informed me that Dr. Wahaki will be here in Rapid City this week. I don't know if you're aware of that, and if you are, nobody said anything to me. He's coming here to meet with the tribes with direct services. That means those tribes that receive IHS money. He's supposed to be in Rapid City this week. So if you were told, you never shared it with any of us if you knew about it. The other thing that I want to bring to your attention is, remember, Rapid City is a direct, Susan is a direct service. It's under the allocation like all the tribes, and it's $46 million. So I think that you need to take that into consideration. We appreciate, we don't want to bite the hands that fed us, and we thank Oglala, we thank Cheyenne River and Rosebud Sioux Tribe for standing up when our hospital could have been closed in the 1990s. We thank you for that. But in that process, we want you to remember the responsibilities of healthcare and our people. And I want to thank those council people that have been very adamant about supporting this 638 process. But this 638 process, and ask your attorney up there, is not for tribal tribes that are treaty tribes. It is not for us. We think that we're going to get in there and we're going to administer our programs and we're going to have full control. That's not the way it goes. Sometimes it falters, you fall on your face, you eat your retro seed, or our people don't get the services that they need. So as you think through these things, I ask you to please use your heart. Use your heart and think the pros and cons of it and do it for the best of our people. Ho, ake wopila.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, and thank you, Councilman Wilson. Part B under IHS, Geraldine Church, Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health Board.
Should I sit at the table? Ambeta Washte Madakiapi, Geraldine Church Imachiapi. I want to first start by acknowledging the comments from the Rapid City community. Their voices are important, and we've recognized that all along. We've had over a dozen meetings with
within the community before the resolutions were passed, since the resolutions were passed, and will continue to listen and hear your voices. The way the law is written, it is under the authority of the tribes and tribes only to 638. So that's why the tribes worked through that process with IHS. And it's our intention to continue to listen to the voice of the community and engage the community at a level that IHS has never engaged the community. There's a number of committees that that pose an opportunity for community members to sit on. Things like improving access, improving quality of care, prioritizing the types of services that the community needs and wants. Right now, there's no venue for the community to be able to weigh in on those things. So, but what I wanted to do today was give the council an update on where we are in the process. We are very close to finalizing negotiations with the Indian Health Service. The contract that we're negotiating is for $23 million. I'm not sure about the $40 million or what that's based on, but including third-party billing, it's about $23 million. One of the things that I want to be sure that you are clear about is where we are in terms of what the impact is going forward with the two tribes versus Rosebud. So where we are right now is at this, we're negotiating for 80% of the budget right now. What we're asking for and what we have always asked for from IHS is that they buy the remaining 22% of services either from us or any entity that they so choose, but ideally it would be from the health board. That would allow the system to remain intact as one a unified health system, which is I know. Which is something I think we all want. We want one unified health system. And that's also what I think IHS wants. I think the community wants that. We want that. And so we're still negotiating. Negotiations won't be done until the end of this week. I think that would be the ideal situation because our position is that we do want to offer every employee that is eligible an IPA. Right now, IHS's position is they still want to manage 22% of the budget, and so we were asked to put forward IPAs for 80% of the budget and leave them 35 employees. So we actually had more employees that wanted an IPA than what we were able to offer based on the fact that we have 80% of the budget right now. So I think it'd be important for IHS to hear from the two councils, and I think they are, that we would like to see them purchase the remaining services so the system can remain intact, and that that we're able to offer IPAs to all eligible employees. The discussion that we had with IHS is that the 35, so when we went through the position types, they let us know what types of positions they needed, and so we abstained from offering IPAs to all employees so that they would have all 35 positions. That meant there were 16 people that did not get extended an IPA. But the intention is that IHS is to retain those people So if they have to, or if they're stuck to the idea that they're going to provide a separate program with 22%, they will have staffing and people will have their jobs. They may not work for Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health Board, but they'll work for, ideally, for IHS. The other position that IHS is taking is that unless the 3 tribes are on the same page with the construction project, that would be at risk. And we just had a phone call not too long ago, and I think that the 3 tribes are on the same page, that they want IHS to go forward with that construction at the Susan campus to be built by IHS. And so we're hopeful that that's not going to impact the risk of losing funding for the service unit. But we need to be sure that we're constantly in touch with IHS and advocating for those things. I'll give specific numbers on the IPAs. I said, I spoke in terms of 80% and 20%. There were 157 people that were eligible for IPAs. And what that means is there's 198 total, but there were 157 that were eligible, meaning you're only eligible if you turn in paperwork that indicates that you want an IPA. If we don't get paperwork indicating that from an employee, they're not eligible for an IPA. We can't offer them an IPA. The other numbers, there were 10 area employees. They're not eligible for IPAs because they're area employees and not Susan employees. There were 3 positions that we were told were being riffed because they're ending the program. That program is an area program, so we have no control over that. We were very concerned to hear that there were 3 people that were being riffed, but it's an area program, and they work there at the service unit. So far, out of the 157, we have received 127 signed IPAs, and I signed those and returned them. So right now, there's 127 people that are going to continue their employment, but with GPTCHB. Out of the 157 that were eligible for IPAs, there were 47 that were interested in direct hire. So either they were going to retire or they're going to resign. But of the 47 people that expressed interest for a direct hire, we have put forward job offers. And out of the 13 Commission Corps officers, right now we have 9 MOUs or MOAs back from them. We just came off of a long holiday weekend, and there were quite a few people that were out last week. And so we anticipate, while we've been here, we've learned that there's been others that have IPAs and MOAs that have come in. So we anticipate more maybe coming in. So I think that's where we are right now. I did want to say that Cheyenne River, I heard that somebody said that Cheyenne River is pulling out. That is, I verified that's not the case. So I want to open it up to questions to the council.
Councilman Apple, can you use your microphone, please?
Sorry. I want to know where the rumor came from for Cheyenne River pulling out.
If I knew the source of all the rumors that have been put out there on this project, I don't think we would be having half the challenges that we are right now. I have no idea where that came from.
Councilman Apple, I do have a response for that. At 13:32 today, I did get a text from Miss Bernita in the woods, and she said Cheyenne River has not pulled out. Has not. Councilman Gibbons.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Church, I wasn't on board when this was happening, but I do have questions. I got to see the Rosebud Council meeting with Driving Hawk in there, and he spoke of shares, and he really couldn't put it together, but I think in the end he wanted to count people as shares, and I've got issues with that. People are not stocks. I don't know where this share concept come from, but we're all in this together. Those are our relatives, and we're all related in this thing. And how Rapid City, who the people who doesn't have a voice, one of the ladies mentioned Mr. Wiyaki coming to visit with the community. Is that going to happen?
I haven't been contacted by Admiral Wiyaki, but he did mention a few weeks ago that if the tribes or the community would like to have a meeting, that he would be open to that. But I haven't heard anything about him having a community meeting.
I know in our meeting in the IHS in Pine Ridge, when it was brought up that he should visit the people of Rapid City, a lot of anger in that room, a lot of anger. And I'm a little weary about the trust responsibility as we move from the United States government to the Great Plains, and being a treaty responsibility of the United States. Is Great Plains now upholding the treaty responsibilities of the United States?
So the United States government is still responsible for upholding the trust responsibility, regardless if the tribes receive their health care through a direct service, through self-governance, or self-determination. There's explicit language in the statute for Public Law 93-638 that states that in no way does self-determination or self-governance absolve the United States government of upholding its treaty obligation. What it does do is actually provides more of a direct line between the tribes and HHS. So when you look at the chain of communication with direct service, it often starts at the service unit, and then if it goes up from there, it goes to area office, and then if it goes up from there, it goes to IHS, and if it needs to go up from there, it goes to HHS. So you go through about 4 different avenues. Under self-governance, the direct line of communication is directly between the tribes and the Secretary of HHS. With self-determination, we'll have a direct, the tribes will have a direct relationship with IHS. So it actually cuts out a lot of the middleman and those conversations. It also allows the tribes to have control over the direction of how their health care is going to be not only managed, but the priorities. So with direct service, the tribes have experienced over and over again, if they have an opinion about how a service is being delivered, what types of line items are of more importance, we have a budget consultation, but ultimately IHS decides that. Under a Title I or Title V contract, the tribes decide for themselves, with the input of their community members, what are priorities and how the resources that are provided are going to be utilized. The process of self-determination and self-governance also brings more resources, because there are contract support costs that are, that the tribes and tribal organizations have available to it to manage the programs. So right now, as part of our negotiation process, we're looking at about an additional, hopefully about $9 million additional resources to bring into the service unit, which would also increase the funds for actual services.
You say hopefully. So
Well, I say
nothing's in writing where it says, okay, a 638, you're going to run out of funding as prices go up. Are you writing into these contracts, say $6 million per year, per quarter, as costs go up? If we have, if we've got, say, 10 heart attacks, I hope not, and we've got 20 kidney replacements, which I hope that happens if we need them, and we run out of money in that 638, I know that it's tougher in hell to get more money past the 638. Are you right, figuring all of that into the contract?
So when I say hopefully because we're not done negotiating the contract. But I will say that the negotiations are going very, very well. The amount of appropriations are the same, regardless if it's through a direct service or through a compact or contract. The biggest difference in terms of being able to bring additional resources to Susan under a contract is that federal entities cannot apply for additional funding, whereas a tribe or tribal organization can. So for instance, we know that we have a considerable need in our region for behavioral health services. And IHS budget is what it is. You get a line item for behavioral health, and that's all you get. Under a compact or contract, as an organization, we can also apply for other funding that will help address behavioral health needs. We can apply for SAMHSA funding. We can go to foundations and other entities and solicit for funding to augment those line items. The other thing that we can do, typically what you see with tribes and tribal organizations that are under a contract or compact is that they're a little bit better about third-party billing. Oftentimes you see those figures go up significantly, and those funds can be redirected to where the highest priority is. Another opportunity that we are looking at as a part of this contract is tribes and tribal organizations can take those contract, what used to be called, they're called purchase and referred care now. You can take a portion of those funds and you can purchase insurance for your members, so that instead of all of your funding for PRC going directly to pay regional health or some other entity, you can purchase insurance, and you don't have to determine if that person is a level 1 or a level 4 priority. You can send them refer them directly, and they'll have insurance. So there's a lot of flexibility and opportunity that is afforded to tribes and tribal organizations that IHS as a federal entity simply doesn't have.
So back when they said, Glenn, you and your children need to get on Medicare. And I said, no, we don't. We are guaranteed by treaty for services at our IHS in Pine Ridge. Well, we want everybody because the funding's this, that. So moving past that, say 15 years down the road, now we're talking insurance for tribal members to get health care. If I go to Rapid City and I don't have the Medicare, the insurance, am I going to be able to get seen? Is my family going to be able to get seen in Rapid?
Yes.
So all of the Rapid City community they're going to need to get insurance
No.
for this?
No, they don't have to get insurance, but most people, most reasons that referrals often don't happen or they don't get paid for is because IHS doesn't have enough money in PRC to pay for those services. So by using PRC funding for your elders or your most chronic disease patients, it saves your PRC dollars. It also brings money back into your system because you have more people that have insurance that you can bill for services that are received within the system, but also that are referred out. So there's not an issue of do we have the money to send this person out for the care they need if they have insurance. But it's not a requirement that they have insurance, and no one's going to be turned away if they don't have insurance.
Thank you for your patience, Ms. Church. I didn't have a bunch of meetings with you or get to sit in on that stuff. But for a nonprofit, Great Plains is a nonprofit organization, correct?
Great Plains is a nonprofit organization, tribal organization. So we're governed by the 18 tribal chairmen is our board of directors. So we also are afforded tribal sovereign immunity as a tribal organization. We have nonprofit status, so we don't have to pay taxes.
So, but you're wanting to make a profit when it comes to 638.
So the services that are provided that we're able to bill for, that money will go back into the service unit.
So, well, you've had a lot of patience with it. I got a lot more questions.
That's
I
fine.
do, but I better.
That's fine.
I see Ryan looking at.
Thank you, Councilman Gibbons. Councilwoman Mills is going to yield the floor. Thank you, Councilwoman Mills.
I think we don't need to talk in acronyms, Mrs. Church. When you're talking about these PRCs, you need to explain to our people specifically what those are. I have a habit of doing that myself, being an old IHS employee. But I think we need to specifically bring those out, what that means. And I want to bring to your attention what is being said here today about the 638 being an opportunity for more services or enhancement of services. We need to stop and think about it. And I'm not pointing fingers and I don't want to argue. But there are ways of doing the things that need to be done. When I worked in Indian Health Service, I did a lot of interagency agreements to make sure that our health services were provided to our people for whatever they needed. We put down to Pine Ridge a person to handle the SSI recipients, the supplemental security recipients, people that applied for it. During Chairman Ironclaw's reign. There are ways to do this besides looking at the 638 process. If you need more money, you can either go through requesting more money in contract health service. If there is an emergency out there, then you go in and you ask for a contract health service increase, it's called. And so, you know, there are ways to do this. So don't get fooled by some of this. It's not correct, and that's why I'm saying, let's sit down and talk about this item by item. Look at the pros and cons, and then make the decision if this is the right way to do for your people, for us people. You know, I don't agree with this, and yes, there is a petition going around. They need 336 signatures in Eagle Butte. I have a text here, but I can't pull it up because there's no service here. It's specifically showing us that right now. Okay? And Rosebud has already unanimously said that they don't want IHS to make a decision on this 638 process, for the area director to make that decision. Number two, they're asking a forensic audit on the Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health Board. And three, they ask for the removal. of the CEO. Okay? So those are the things that are going on. I'm trying to keep my fingers on the pulse of Indian country, and I don't like this dissent and division that is created amongst us even. But we have to move forward, and we have to make some good decisions on health care. And the Rapid City community is saying, we don't want to 638 right now. We want to stay with Indian Health Service. And one of our council people has said to me, you mean we'd rather stay with the government and control us? That's not the issue. The issue is right now the people are comfortable where they are with the chicken feed money we get. That's where they would like to stay. They would have liked to have been consulted. They would have liked to have participation, and it hasn't been done. I don't care what you council people say. It was not done, and I'm sorry, Mrs. Church, it was not done correctly for the people to have a say. And I was trying to bring 5 unchis with me. I forget I'm an unchi too. I'm 70 years old now, but these ones are older than me. And I wanted to bring them here today to let you know that they were at those meetings, but all of them are in rehab right now because they fell down during the bad weather. So they couldn't be here today. But if it need be, we will get those statements from them. We will make a packet next time. I'm sorry, Lydia told me, where's our packets? But I'm sorry we didn't have an opportunity to do that. So I want you to reconsider some of this stuff that is being put on the table before you. Let's look at the pros and cons of this, and that's all I ask, is that you not go forward with this, because you are the lead agency, the lead tribe right now to make this decision on behalf of the people. Because there's Cheyenne River, Rosebud, and OST, Oglala Sioux Tribe, that is doing this to our people. And Rosebud we withdrew. We thought it was rescinded. We thought it was over. We did not know that the Tribal Chairman's Health Board submitted another proposal at a 60-40. And we're going forward, and the people are saying 70-30. We did not know that until 3 weeks ago. We were told that May 15th is supposed to be the decision of the area director. So that's when we got on the ball and we started doing things. And I don't know how to repair this, but I don't like the dissension amongst the tribes. We have another person that has been calling the tribal chairman, and they said, no, we do not go to those that meeting. We send our vice chairman, we send our HHS representative, chairman representative, or another delegate. So to me, this is not a true recognition of this Tribal Chairman's Health Board that should have been and is not. So I want you to reconsider all of those. I'll be more than happy to write those up, and I'll be more than happy to work with anybody on behalf of our people's good health. But I will still take a stand on the 1868 treaty and those responsibilities, and that we as people and you as council people take a look and make sure that those get done for our people. Ho, wopila.
Thank you, Councilwoman Mills.
Amidagyapi. I only have 4 things to mention to you that is in our history as Ogallala people. The first thing is, do you remember when we had that whole thing on golden cows? And some people went to jail for it? Do you remember the meat packing plant in Gordon, that after investments of millions of dollars, those people left town and held the tribe responsible? Do you remember when they start looking at 638 in some of our schools for education, that they cut back on that funding? Do you remember all the people that lost their jobs because of there was no transparency? That's what I just wanted to talk about this morning, to have caution. Make sure that you understand that those things do happen. Do you remember when certain tribal chair people with the housing authority would not pay their rent, and it went to federal court, and people were charged to repay that? I just want you to remember that that's the choice you make individually. And whatever choice you make, I will always stand up for the Oglala Sioux tribe because I'm Ogallala. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ahu Wopila for that art. Thank you, Councilwoman Mills. Tribal Council, do you have any other questions for Ms. Church? Councilman Wilson.
Thank you. I guess my question is, 80% of the 23 million, that's 80%, the 23 million is 80%, or is that the full budget in which Siouxsan operates on now?
The funding tables that we were provided says it's 23 million.
For the 80%?
For the, no, total.
Total.
Yeah.
So then you're going to take another 20% off take another 5 or 6 million off of that for the share to operate the Cheyenne River and Ogallala part?
No, that's what we are currently, where we are right now in our negotiations is that we are negotiating for 78.13% on behalf of OST and Cheyenne River. 22%, 21 point whatever, is the shares that are associated with Rosebud Sioux Tribe, and their proportionate portion of the unaffiliated users.
So will we, if IHS, you said it's going to keep about 30 employees and the rest are coming underneath tribal chairmans, so will the services be duplicated then that are coming? Say if you're Pine Ridger, you got to go to the first floor, and if you're a Rosebudder, you go to the third floor, but we're going to have a billing technician for the Rosebud floor and then another billing technician for the Ogallala floor? Is that what I'm kind of gathering?
So that's the question that we've posed to IHS. It doesn't seem like a very feasible or financially sound way to go.
Right.
And so this week we're completing our negotiations, and we're hoping that they will simply purchase the services for the remaining 22% so that the whole system can stay intact. It doesn't make sense to split equipment or even employees. It's not financially sound, in my opinion, to run a separate system for the remaining 22%. So this week is, so over in the most recent negotiation that was done in the Great Plains was with Omaha and Winnebago. And in that situation, Winnebago had about 70% of the shares and Omaha had about 30. Omaha was not interested in pursuing self-governance. Winnebago wanted to pursue self-governance. Each tribe has the right to pursue self-determination or self-governance. So it doesn't require all three tribes to be in agreement on that, except for construction. That's a separate issue. So what they did is they allowed Winnebago to 638 their 70% of the shares, and then they used the remaining money in that pot to pay for services for the Omaha members. And so that remained intact. They didn't have to hire another chief, health administrator. They didn't have to hire If they were to set up a new system for the 22%, it would be a waste of resources because
Right.
they'd have to have the chief health administrator, the deputy, they'd have to have another CMO, another director of nursing. It'd be really, really top heavy. I don't understand the logic with that. But like I said, we're still negotiating.
So then I guess my other question on the negotiate, that it would even go to the doctors then. If let's say there's a doctor upstairs that only sees the Rosebudders and another doctor that sees the Cheyenne River and the Pine Ridge, or let's say the Rosebutter doctor's the better doctor. Maybe I want to go upstairs and have him look at me. Is that going to be an option too, or am I just stuck with the one that's hired through tribal chairmans?
So both IHS and the health board are going to see anyone that is eligible, IHS eligible. That's our position, and that's the way it should be. It should be under one system.
Okay, because I'm big on self-determination. I think the tribes ought to voice their sovereignty completely, but this 80% has got a hiccup. To me, you either get it all or you don't get none of it. So I do have some concerns on IHS dictating that they're going to give 20%, keep 20% and duplicate services. To me, that's a waste of resources that could be going to either the pharmacy or a doctor or whatever. And then, of course, you said there was 3 positions that were going to be riffed. I don't agree with that, because when you turn in your paperwork that says you're going to 638, you get everything, every program to me that's there operating in that building now. And so to see 3 people already being riffed, I don't really care to hear that kind of language when that's really shouldn't be even part of it. You get everything if you're 638, and you get the whole shebang in my view anyway, and not Weaka's view or whoever's called Meeks's or whoever's calling the shot.
Thank you, Councilman Wilson. Councilman Yellowhawk.
Hello. The bottom line in all this is the quality of health care for our Lakota people. And to segregate from one band to another is completely wrong with me. That's the way I look at it. I think you go to a hospital, they don't ask you what nationality you are or et cetera. So why is it that we're talking about percentage? One percentage get better health care than the rest. And in Rosebud, they were saying that, the Rosebudders will not get no health care when they go to Rapid City. The way it's going, this is what they're believing, I thought. And in doing this, is the quality of health care going to improve?
Yes, I believe it will improve significantly. That has been the trend across the country, that tribes or tribal organizations that assume their programs right now, more than ever, because of opportunities that are afforded to tribes under the Indian Healthcare Improvement Act, the fact that you can get 100% contract support costs. There's a number of reasons that have made it far more feasible now than it's ever been. That's also the trend.
So actually, nobody's going to let be put aside if they need health care. They all been taking care of the same quality care for every one of them. I mean, that's my main concern.
Yes.
I'm somewhat familiar with the 638. I was a 638 contract specialist, and I know what you're going through. But IPAs, et cetera, this is a normal procedure for all government agencies, no matter if it's BIA, BLN, BOR, they have all the programs that you're talking about. This is what they do. Right now, they're outsourcing all the programs in Indian service and a lot of government services, and I'm sure that IHS would be glad to get rid of their responsibilities and give it to the tribes to handle. But the quality of care can be great. I've seen some health care facilities that are exceeding the qualities of what the IHS is providing right now. And this is what we should be striving for.
Yes.
And the quality, and assure everybody that the quality of services will be available and increased at the same time. I'm not too sure if the Rapid City Group is advised of all this stuff, but I think they should be consulted right along on what you're doing. And this, you know, if that happens, we wouldn't be sitting here pros and cons and don't do that, this and that. But I think we should improve our communications with all peoples that receive the services from Rapid City. I think we have enough problems of our own on the reservation here. All reservations, not specifically Rapid City, but healthcare should be all the same all across the Indian country. Quality services, the best care we can get. Right now it's diminishing, and we don't want to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I also, want to speak to community engagement. There are 22,000, according to our census, 22,000 IHS eligible American Indians that are living in Rapid City or surrounding areas. Right now, I think there are three, conversation that we've had with IHS. They've heard from three different groups saying they represent the community. So nobody really knows who represents the community, which organization is the voice of the community. And I agree that we could do more to engage and get improve communication, and we're committed to doing that. And we'll continue to do that. And especially once the program is assumed, there'll be a separate governing body that will have community representation on it. There are committees that weigh in on quality of service, appointment times, just a number of committees that the service unit should have in place that have staff as well as community members on there. And currently IHS doesn't do that. So there'll be lots of opportunity for community to weigh in and have a voice. And we're committed to that. And could we have done a better job? I'm sure we could have. But I also, know that we did a lot of community meetings before and after the resolutions were passed.
Thank you for that, Ms. Church. Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just also this afternoon, I just want to give thanks to the red shirt community, having to come all the way down here. I know that it's a great distance to come from Red Shirt to Pine Ridge to do business. So today I just want to say, out of respect to the community, I thank them today for allowing this opportunity to come here today as tribal council and hold our meeting. So it gives them an opportunity to address the tribal council when they need to. But as one of the tribal council leaders, I really want to say that Mr. Yellowhawk touched on exactly what the tribes have been working on, and that is quality of health care for our people in Rapid City. And I want to say today that I have my family that lives in Rapid City. I have a daughter and grandchildren that live there. And I want to let that be known today. They attend the Rapid City school system, and they use the Susan Hospital. So today I want to speak on their behalf, because when we talk about representing the Native community population, I also want to say today that there's a lot of us in this circle that have family living in Rapid City. And they are also for better quality of health care in Rapid City. For too long, we have been on Indian Health Service, our own Indian Health Service, here at our local level, fighting for better health care. And every time that CEO from Indian Health Service comes to our council meeting, how many of you in the circle get upset about that health care of what the service unit is doing to our people? How many of you come to the circle and you get mad about the quality of health care that our people are suffering across this reservation? 5-6 years ago, in 2016, I was one of the tribal leaders. I went to Washington, D.C. to testify in front of the Senate of Indian Affairs Committee on behalf of our people. Here too, red shirt table, I had someone that brought me a packet and said, these are all my bills. Never got paid by Indian Health Service. Could you testify on my behalf? So I did that. Here in this circle, we all want to know about what this whole process was. Some of you have been in this circle right along with me for the last 2 years, and you guys know what we've been working on. When we had the Native community come into us 2 or 3 years ago, getting upset about the Indian Health Service's care, quality of health care they were giving our people, this tribal council said, we're going to put together a unified health care committee. They're going to go to Rapid City and they're going to hear the concerns of our people. It started from this tribal council. So today, I want to say that our Indian Health Service should be the one that we should be questioning, not Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health Board, but our Indian Health Service, the federal government, that is not upholding their treaties when it comes to the health care of our people. So we need to think about that today, and I'm going to speak out about it because I am tired of it. I'm tired of it when my people come to me and say there was neglect on Indian Health Service's part. They gave me the wrong medication. They done this to me. They done that to my family. I myself have a relative that died in the emergency room when they misdiagnosed him and said, oh, you just have a heartburn. Here's some Mylanta. Go home and take that. 3 o'clock in the morning, he died of a massive heart attack. My family didn't sit back and say, okay, well, Indian Health Service, we're going to let you go. No. They fought and filed a lawsuit on Indian Health Service. And you know what? They won that lawsuit. Their children and his grandchildren won that lawsuit. So I'm going to stand up here and talk strongly that we need to support this. 2 years have gone by with this project being in place. And out of respect for our new council, we try to update you as we're going along. We put too much money into this. Our tribe, Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, we all agreed that we would throw in money to help move this forward. Yes, we're going to have people not happy about it. In this circle, we have made tough decisions. We made decisions that sometimes wasn't agreeable by the people. But today, I can honestly say that they were glad when we made them. Look at the Sioux Nation Shopping Center. Some of us didn't want to go that way, but we took it. We took the chance to make a change for our people. And today, you walk into that store, and it's a nice, clean store. Fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, and our people are happy. I hear a lot of good, positive comments from our people, even the employees. So instead of reacting to the situation, we need to start being proactive about it. Yes, our people are going to come to us. They're going to be unhappy about these decisions. Yes, we'll give you time to listen to us. We'll listen to you. But I'm not going to stand here and defend Indian Health Service. I am tired of that. They hurt our people too much. They are the ones we should be going after, not Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health Board. They were put in place because of the 18 tribes that wanted something better for the people to represent us. So let's think about that quality of health care for our people. That's what we need. Some of us leaders in here want that. We want good quality health care for our people. They deserve it. They deserve it. And Indian Health Service needs to hear that. I hope you hear it today. Because I am one tribal leader that is not going to sit back and let you walk away from this. You are going to be held accountable. You are going to answer to this tribal council, because every time the CEO comes to give her report, how many of us are on her? How many of us don't accept that report from the Indian Health Service? But today, we want to gang up on one organization, and that's got to stop. Come here and listen to the facts. There's too many things out there in the media, Facebook, social media, that I don't have Facebook myself. It's because of that. We need to start listening to each other in this council floor. And we need to support each other. Shine River, Rosebud, we need to support each other. For too long, the federal government did what they did. And like Ms. Whiteface said here today, what she said today was what she said Indian Health Service is doing. We could take it that way. We can say, okay, well, we'll go along with what Indian Health Service wants, or we as a council need to stand strong. The Oglalas are always the ones at the table. They're always the ones at the first in line to take care of business. And as Oglalas, we are like that. So today I'm just going to say that I am tired of the health care that Indian Health Service is providing to our people here on the reservation and at Susan Hospital. It's got to stop now. So I want to thank Ms. Church for coming today, and I want to thank our Native community for coming and expressing their concern. We hear you. We hear you. We hear the other organization. There's another organization. We hear all of you. But you got to remember that we have a lot of people living in Rapid City. We have family there too. We have grandchildren. And they're saying, you know what? Something has got to be done about Susan. For too long, it's been going on, and we need to stop it. So today I'm going to say that we need to start dealing with our local service unit here too. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I want to say that today that we heard Ms. Church, we heard the Native community out, and we need to move forward now, Council. We have a long agenda. We have things that we need to take care of. We've got important issues here. But keep in mind, quality of health care is important to us as tribal leaders, and we represent people in all 9 districts. So with that, I want to say Wopila. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston. Councilwoman Sears.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody, the audience, Rapid City community members. This is my 4th term on council, and past few terms, I've been attending meetings in Rapid City regarding healthcare issues. And that's all I've heard is a lot of complaints. And sometimes we'll have about 20 people there. Sometimes we'll have about 3 people, you know. And it varied as much meetings that I went. And I did try to attend weekly, and depending on weather, but I was always there to listen. I wanted to hear the disparities, everything that went on with our people up there that were complaining about lack of health care, the dental department, the diabetes, everything, staff, how they were treated. It just entailed everything with IHS, and there's a lot of good people that work at IHS, but sometimes you don't get a lot of people that treated our people good. And so people came and expressed their concerns. So I heard it. And also, before my time, before I got into council, I think there was a hearing in Rapid City that happened where there was quite a few people there, and I didn't get to go to that because I wasn't on council, and I didn't know that happened. But I did retain a copy, I believe, from KOLC. They recorded it. So I got a copy for the community because they wanted to review that again. But, you know, I think there was like hundreds of people there that testified how they were, it was on healthcare with IHS, their concerns of not getting the adequate care that they needed. So it didn't go on deaf ears, I tell you that. We listened, we had a lot of feedback from the people, various people came in, and today, you know, some of the people that oppose this now are supporting IHS, so I'm kind of confused, you know, what is it that they wanted? You know, do they want to keep IHS, or do they want to keep that same care they were given? I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because there's relatives working there. It could be a number of things, and I just, my personal belief was to attend these meetings to bring it back to our tribal council, to Pine Ridge, to our HHS committee, and let them know what they were facing up there. Because who speaks for them? They said, we have nobody up here. So the HHS committee took action at that time to appoint me to go up there and meet with the community, and which I did. And I was very faithful with that, to hear the concerns of the people. And I don't want to go against anybody in the community, but it's just the fact that we wanted better health care for the people that expressed their concerns throughout these years. And I just had a question on the, with Geraldine on the construction of the clinic. And I know it's gonna be a clinic. People wanted a hospital, but I guess that was already a decision made by Congress, and the funding, they said if we turn it to a hospital, we have to go back to the bottom of the list. But I wanted to find out if that clinic is still proposed at that site, or is the one that they were trying to have on Shepherd Hills, if that's out of the question now?
Yes, so it's a clinic and specialty care and urgent care. The Shepherd's Hill site was not approved by IHS, and the construction contract is no longer on the table because it required all 3 tribes to be on board. But IHS's position, and this has been their trend for a number of years, is to diminish services. They did that with Sisseton used to have a hospital, they closed it. Cheyenne River, they were trying to close that hospital when they were building their new facility. They had to fight very, very hard to keep it a hospital. So if it stays under the management of IHS, there's no doubt there will never be a hospital. Under tribal management, there is an opportunity to work in that direction, but it will take time. But ultimately, that's the vision, is to have that site be the primary referral site for the tribes that are in our region and near our region. So not just Cheyenne River and OST, but Lower Brule, Crow Creek, they don't have a hospital. And so a lot of their PRC gets paid out in cash for those services. By having that money come back into a network, then we keep that money within our own system. Whereas right now, we're getting, we're helping regional expand. They're building like crazy. And that's a lot of our dollars that are going there. So.
Okay, at this point where we're at in negotiations, what's the big hurry now? Since the project is stopped and all this, is there time to to have more community input, because I think this is where it's going, where people want to have input on this. You know, it's the community up there in Rapid City. We got a lot of them. And I was approached to bring it through our district, and I did call Shirley and ask her if she would come, because they wanted her to come down and talk to our district along with you, so people can hear both sides. So that's kind of what we're looking into now. And is there I mean, could it?
Well, we're almost done. I mean, we were done before. We were 2 days away from signing the contract, and we're almost done now. And I have to tell you, we have invested so much money in this. We were at $1 million in January. And now we're, because we thought it would be easier because we had done a lot of that work, but it wasn't, because you're negotiating on behalf of 2 tribes now, and it actually made it more complicated because we had to come up with it. So I would not recommend halting this process. It will be, financially, it will be, it's very expensive. It's every day that this is not done, we are racking up more bills with attorneys and consultants, and so let's just get it done. I think the longer that we wait, and we can still engage community. There's a, you know, there's not a lot that the community, in terms of the negotiation process itself, can really, I mean, I think they'd be bored stiff, to be perfectly honest with you. What we're negotiating is the amount of funding that is associated with it. Then we get to dive into how is it going to be structured, what kind of committees are there going to be, what types of services are going to be priority. Those are the kinds of things that where we really want community input.
Thank you.
Councilman Gibbons?
Thank you, Chair. Torts, everybody makes mistakes. So we file a tort. Our people, when they are wrongly served, and they will be, we file it against you.
So under contract, you have federal torts protections, but in addition to that, we are going to purchase additional, what is that called, Myra? Malpractice for areas where, just for stronger liability, just to make sure that we're
So it'd be
fully covered.
We'd be suing 60% of ourselves, is what it comes down to.
I'm sorry.
Or whatever shares are deemed.
If there was something that were to go wrong, is that what you're saying? I'm not sure I understand your question, sir. I'm sorry.
So if they operate on me and something goes wrong, so I will sue the 60% share of the Oglalas
Can you
in a malpractice suit?
I'm gonna have our.
And I know I want to get out of. I want to get going too. But that contract, is it going to come back before this body before it's signed?
Yeah. So the advisory committee, you have representatives that are on that advisory committee that have looked at everything. So both tribes as well as 3 community members.
So it will come back before this body before it is signed.
I don't
Not
know
the committee, the body, the governing body.
Does it? No, it doesn't. No, it goes. We are
What
the
is
one.
that,
The
blind
health board
faith?
is the one that's negotiating on behalf of the 2 tribes.
Yeah, but there's going.
So it's been, and actually Ogallala's been really good about attending all of those meetings, not just the 2 representatives, but.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston?
You know, I think, Glenn, before you came on board, last administration, we passed those resolutions to our tribe and giving them the authority to negotiate on behalf of the Oglala Sioux tribe.
We did that.
And Cheyenne River did the same, and Rosebud Sioux tribe did the same. So we all had the uniform resolution from each tribal council, and we passed those. So that is why they're negotiating on our behalf, okay? And so the resolutions were amended after that, after Rosebud pulled out. But ours stayed intact. We had to change some language in there, but they're negotiating on our behalf. And some of us council have been sitting in those negotiations with Great Plains and Indian Health Service. And it really would be good if you could be there, because then you'll see what they're negotiating on. And so I think some of the new council were able to sit in there. I think Garfield sat in there, Randy, and Vincent, Philip, myself, and Lydia, Valerie, and I think the other two from Kyle, and Craig. So we've been a part of that, sitting in and listening to their negotiations. So
Thank you.
that's
So
how that answers your question.
for your information, Ms. Church, my district is not a 638 fan, and that comes out of our district. So if it's so good, guys, why aren't we doing it at Pine Ridge? Why aren't we doing it at Pine Ridge? If it's that good, thank you, Chair.
Councilwoman Bearkiller.
Okay, so like with the history that Jackie came with and with Sonia, I was a part of that in 2000 when I first came into council, dealing with Susan and all the problems. But you know, when the proposal came and the tribe supported it, I support it for a positive change that could bring more specialty service to our people with quality care. And that's what this whole thing should be about. Okay, so in terms of in 08-10, we moved IHS to try to do the same thing, go under a Title V. The whole thing, the whole self-governance contract was what we were after. Our audits were good. The tribe has to have good audits in order to get one of these contracts. So our audits were good, and we were willing to do it. But it's this opposition that comes at the tail end of any project that kind of derails it. You look at us today. Should we did that in 2010, where would we be at today than what's going on with IHS? You know, I just can't sit and allow IHS government employees to abuse our people sexually, physically, mentally. And there's no service there that they're doing for our people that's good. And yet, this division, divide and conquer, it's not IHS. It's our people doing that to each other. And you know, we started this a long time ago. And you know, I have a lot of respect, I have a lot of trust in these chairmen that are selected by their people. They're the ones that make that decision. They're the ones that brought it this far. And we're 2 days away to signing these agreements. And I think, you know, if it's going to provide better care, if it's going to bring more specialty doctors and services, if it's going to be, our people would be able to get the need that IHS could never give them, is what we need to look at. And then the other part of it is purchase referred care. You know, IHS was really smart back then when they put PRC together. It is not a treaty obligation. You know, so, and today, IHS is not providing that treaty obligation with 100% funding. We all know that. So today, you know, if we're moving to get this in place for the people, it's those Ushika people that don't say nothing. It's those Ushika ones that sit back and take everything for what's given to them. That's who we should be looking for, not a political issue like this. You know, today I think we need to really look at IHS and you know, the treaty obligation. They failed us over and over and over. And it's not just IHS, it's the Bureau, it's Indian education. We're failed, they failed us. And I was at that point too, and we know that when they said if the tribes take the self-determination, it enhances your sovereignty and your treaty rights. You could push those. We don't lose nothing. We don't jeopardize nothing. And every time people come up and they say this and say that, Where's your documents? Where's your proof? That's what I want to see. Because that's what I have in front of me when I make decisions. But this hearsay and this threat and the scare tactics that goes on, let's not be doing that because our people are suffering. You know, one life lost is a great loss to any nation. And that's what we should be looking at, as how we could enhance health care for our people. You know, so today I believe that IHS and Pine Ridge should have been in this position, you know, 10 years ago when we had that opportunity. But when it came on the floor, it was scare tactics that came in, divided the people, and we failed it. So look where we're at now. They're lying to us. Every time they turn around, they lie to us. They're saying our audits are good. Our people are getting health care. They're not. It's IHS that's lying to us. So I think we need to, you know, look at the respect of our people and that trust. And I have a lot of respect for the chairmen across South Dakota and this tribal chairman's health board. I have a lot of respect for them and the decisions that they make. So I mean, I don't mean to come off like this, but it just seems like, you know, yeah, if it's within the circle of, you know, the chairmen, I really respect them. And, you know, I commend Julian for coming in with a new president. But he's staying on top of the issues, and he's learning, and he's reading and doing the homework. That's what we all did. So I think that myself, we need to just move forward. You know, I need to guarantee that those Unshika quiet people, even those little street people that are in Rapid City, get good quality health care. That's where we need to go. We need to look at our people. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bearkiller. Councilwoman Merdanian.
Thank you. I'm going to yield my time to Ms. Lovey Tubles and Mr. Chris Eaglehawk.
Finally. Hello, I'm Lovey Tubles. I live here in Red Shirt. I hear you all talking about the health care here, but you seem to all talk, and you forget about us. I've never, ever heard this from the council before this. I intend to make hundreds and hundreds of copies, and I'm going to go out to Oglala, I'm going to hand it out in Pine Ridge, and I'm going to go down to district. When they have their district meeting in Kyle, I will be there and pass it out. And don't say our reservation. They're up there. They're up there in Susan. That's where I go. I lived here 57 years. In 1971, the Oglala Sioux tribe and Susan got into agreement. And all the prenatals go up there to Susan. I was the first one in Bennett Clarkson. I had a little boy there. That was in 1972. In April, he was born there. First one. And since then, all the babies all of them are going up there. We got Native Women's Health. I appreciate that. And they go there. You have any kind of disorder, women disorder, you go there. They'll take care of you. You need surgery, you'll go into surgery. I had surgery through that. Several times I've been in surgery. Like I said, I'm 78 years old. And I'm not young anymore. But I will speak up. And nobody, you go out to this community, nobody knows this. And yet you're talking. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. My people. All right, I'll tell you what. You have people coming to you complaining. Get a paper. Write it down. Have them sign it. Put it aside. Get the next one. Put it aside. When you come before this council, if you're telling the truth, you should have a big stack. But just sitting here telling that, I hear this and I hear that, and they're feeling bad and all that. We always feel bad. There's times come right here in this community. We have sick kids. We feel bad. But we have a CHR. And you have medicine coming, you have refills coming, the CHR will pick it up and bring it back. That's how we live here. And now you're talking about IHS, IHS. Well, I'll tell you something. We use IHS. They're good to us. And when Pine Ridge come, they're good to them because I'm there. I just had a cousin walk up to me and say, I had a heart attack. But I got to get this medicine. So I came to Suzanne and they gave it to me. I have to start taking it right away. And he was there. I visited with him and he said, they took me in right away. If I go to Pine Ridge, I'm going to have to sit there. Well, yeah, that's Pine Ridge. There's a lot of you. Here we're few. But yet, Oglala's up there. There's Pine Ridge up there. Kyle's up there. And it comes out on the names, all the names. And I look at them and I say, they're from Pine Ridge. And that one is from Kyle. And they came to Suzanne for treatment. So yeah, go ahead, talk like that. But I'm going to go in and I'm going to have the people answer that. You forget them. You're sitting here talking. Once again, you're going to shove something down on our throats. No, you go and get the consensus of the people, the women and the children. You say they're important, but once again, you're going to run roughshod over them. So you go and talk to them. You give this to them and give them a complaint papers. See who signs it. See who brings it to you. If you're telling it the truth, like I said, you should have a big stack of them. But just sitting here talking, no, it don't hold water. It doesn't. And I will go forward. Not only me, but I'll get others here to go forward. Because you don't come and pick on us here. Not here in Redshird. You don't come and do that to us. Why weren't you here? Why didn't you come in, have a meeting, say, hey, this is going on. This is happening in your hospital. We'll say, well, show it to us. Where did it happen? We're all here. We all got our medication. We have a CHR that takes care of us. I mean, you're going to have to come up with a better story. But like I said, this is going to go throughout the reservation now. And I'll have them call each representative. Call your representative. If you're feeling bad, your kids are crying and all this stuff, write it down. You know, do it. That way we'll have proof that our representatives did go out in the district. Our representatives did hear this. But just sitting there, standing and talking to me about it don't work. It don't work. I'm here because I have a problem. Not me, but the school, the community, we have a problem. We have some buildings back here. At one time, it was Shannon County that put that up. Them buildings, and there's a gym, okay? Somewhere in 2005, 2006, Shannon County then had a meeting here. And they turned around and they gave them buildings back to the community. Okay? We accepted it. We were glad we got it. But we had a community president, that was Bob Tubles. And I have to go see him because he says he has the copies. I'm going to go see him, but he said, it's going to get vandalized. If you don't take care of it, it's going to get vandalized. So you take it and you watch it. You know, he didn't give it back to them. He just told them to take it and take care of it for us until we can get something going here. Those were his words. So Shannon County, they sat there again, they said, okay, and they took it. And now they're talking about tearing that gym down and putting in a garage. And that's the only gym we have. We have this, but you have to pay $250 to use this. And for funerals, weddings, whatever, you have to pay. And whenever, the people they're doing something, especially on funerals, wakes. It's hard times, and they don't have that money. So they want to come back to the gym, old gym, which some did. But now they come in and say the plumbing ain't good. It ain't good. It's not passing through anything. It's backing up. So we shut it down. Okay? Well, I understand that. It's old. And then the water. There's a problem with the water. And maybe the pipes are old too. So I understand that. So now they shut it down. And they're talking about tearing it down. And I said, no, you can't do that. You here don't really have a right to it at the school, this Oglala, Lakota County. You don't have that right. You have to go back into the community and get it from them. What it is you want to do. If they agree, yeah. But they're going to say, that's all we have. And the buildings that are sitting there, Virtual High School is one. One of the teachers has an apartment in there. And they're paying rent. So, if that belongs to us, they're collecting rent. And it just happens. We don't know. All of a sudden, they're there. And I said, wasn't this supposed to be ours? Weren't they supposed to work with us? But it's a while ago, and different administrations come in. And it just kind of gets overlooked. But I'm going to ask this. I talked to who's Garfield. I talked to Garfield about the paperwork that comes out of Lakota County. I said, Bob said he has it. I got to go up there. Wait till everything ends here, though, weather. I think, talking with Garfield, he says, maybe we can get it. I said, you do that. Once you get it and you look at it, you're going to know it's ours here, the community. And so that's when we'll come before the school board. They're right now having a school board meeting, and that's where we were supposed to be. But instead, we're here. So once we get that paperwork, the tribe can sit down, you can sit down and call Oglala Lakota County in and talk to them. Maybe you can come and send your people in to see the plumbing, see the inside of the buildings. And then you can decide, with us how we're going to fix that gym, because that's all we have. That's all we have. So that's why I'm here, over that. And then another one is our roads. Everyone I talk to is having road problems. I understand that, and our buses go off a mile off the road into homes to pick up kids. We have 33 kids in the community and on the table. And then we have to visit 9 homes to get in there and get the kids and come out, and it's not good. We're wearing our vehicles down. The school. We're having trouble, transmission troubles, all that. And I talked to him and I said, isn't there something you can do? That's where I was going to go before the school board. Why can't you sit down with the tribe and the road department and come up with something? I get tired of this, but they came and wanted to dig gravel by that old bridge, and they were going to gravel all of us roads. They never did. Never. They hauled trucks and trucks out of here with gravel. We never got anything. Well, that's there. Now they want to come again. They want to dig gravel back here. We'll fix your roads. No, don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear that. You don't do it. So that gravel stayed. And then they wanted gravel just southwest of here. And they even went in there and They say they're going to fix our roads. Well, nothing. And yet we sit on a lot of gravel here, and they abuse us, the road department. And so now we're here. And I think I'm supposed to have some paper. Francis and Bob and them are supposed to come in. They probably can't get out. And Francis's daughter's a bus driver, and she got a Suburban stuck. So it sat up there like 3 days before they could get it out. So they stopped that. And that Suburban don't have no four-wheel drive, and that's a school. So now here we are. But that is what I'm talking to you about. Getting together with the county and see what can be done. And whatever you need from us, let me know, and we'll put it together. The teachers here, or the principal, he gave me a paper. All together, we have 73 kids in our school. 33 come out of Richard, here and on top. And the remainder, 40, come out of Ogallala, and that's where our buses run and back. So that is how the school is run. But, and we're having a problem with teachers. We're gonna have four leaving the school. And if we don't find any teachers, then they're gonna cut the school down. It'll be just redshirt. It will be just redshirt. And they'll leave Ogallala out. But we don't want that. So, these are things that's happening to us. And the principal kept coming in, waiting and waiting, but it took too long. So I would like, if possible, what is it? If you need paperwork, whatever you want from me, tell me, we'll get it to you.
Thank you, Ms. Tubos. Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston.
You know, I just wanted to kind of just say to Ms. Tubals is that I know that it sounds like you're concerned about the road issues in Red Shirt Table, but with the buses having to pick up children. So I just looked over at the chair of our committee, EB&D committee, and I think that we've been kind of working on the road issue across the reservation.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of issues, all clear over there to Wombly, Martin, all the way on this end. So right now we are in the process of working with our transportation department and trying to, get together on trying to address these roads. So I just told him that we probably need to share what you're saying. Maybe if you want to get it to your council representatives, they can get it to us at the EB&D committee with the paperwork, and we can address it.
Okay.
So I just want to thank you for that.
We'll,
Thank you,
work with,
Councilwoman Little Hawk
Tina
Weston.
to take care of that. And that, and then the buildings, we got to do something before they make a decision on them. The school.
Yeah, we'll take it to Education Committee so we can get them moved over to the community.
Okay?
Okay?
Okay, we'll do that. And then we'll work on the roads.
Yeah. Okay?
We'll do that.
All right.
Thank you, Councilwoman Merdanian.
Okay, now I have Mr. Chris Eaglehawk.
Good afternoon. I'll make it short. Dwayne's given me a look. So. I was just observing and listening and didn't really want to say anything. But what I just want to share with you is that we've become our own history. Everything the government has done to us, we're doing to ourselves. And we need to start realizing that we attack each other, we fight each other. We need to get away from that and attack the government. I myself have utilized IHS. I have a lot of problems with them. And it's mainly in administration. A lot of times it's bogged down. So if they could alleviate that, you know, they've been doing the same thing over and over, hoping it would come out different, but it hasn't. They need some growth within the IHS administration. Sometimes I think it's too heavy. We need more people to work in the medical field, the doctors and nurses, and you know, like everybody is expressing, that the quality of health care is what we want. As people out there in the districts and the Rapid City community, that's what they want, good health care. There's a lot of my relatives and our people on the reservation who are suffering in silence because they're not assertive as maybe myself. There's a group of people that sit in Pine Ridge that decide who suffers and who doesn't, and who dies and lives. That's got to stop. Those are things that council members and people in IHS need to think about. Maybe we need to go back to the old health board, because I was on a health board at Pine Ridge, and we were able to get them off of out of the red. When they did away with the health board, they went back in the red. So sometimes we have to look at the history of what's happening. A lot of you are talking, and I come from the era where I think Dr. Zimica and myself and some of the others that, you know, we grew up in the 50s. And we had to just take what we got. And younger people have an opportunity to make that better for not only we elders, but for yourselves when you get older. Very important that we start thinking about the real people's needs. You need to get out there in the districts, way out in the districts, and talk to the people. Not just put up complaint sheets in the lobby. You're not going to get anything out of that. You need to get out there and do surveys. What kind of care are they getting? Because what they were saying back then, it still holds true. When I was growing up, I used to hear the elders say, don't go to the hospital because that's where you die. And it seemed like it's still the same. Hasn't changed since the 50s. So let's think about the people that are out there that need the care. Don't think about your position, your career, or what relatives are going to get jobs, things like that. Think about the people. It's like the church. It's getting to where it's not the people, it's the steeple. And we're getting that way. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Wopila, Lekshi, Chris. Tribal Council, do we have anything further for Ms. Church? Okay, thank you for your time, Ms. Church. Yeah, what did I do with it? I just want to, for the listening audience, just to let you know that this yellow sheet of paper was not put together by the tribe. This was handed to us from the community. So although it does say fact sheet, those have yet to be verified. This is nothing done by the tribe, the tribal council, or any of our programs. The nursing home is not here. The human resources is not here, but we do have their report. Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston.
I'd just like to make a motion to approve of the Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health Board report, which is presentation to us.
Okay, I got a motion to approve Ms. Church's report.
Second.
Second by Councilman Apple. Madam Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller,
Yes.
James Cross, Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ha.
Jackie Sears,
Oha.
Vincent Tulance,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Cora Whitehorse, yes, Valerie Janice, Valentino Merdanian,
Here.
Ryan Jumping Eagle,
Yes.
Bo Little White Man,
Yes.
Chancey Wilson, Philip Goodcrow,
Oh.
Randy Laisbad,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald,
Yes.
Makina Mills,
No.
16 yes, 3 no. Motion carried. Oh, Councilwoman Mills.
Just for the record, I do have the attorneys looking at the resolution number 19-02, just checking into, because the first plan that was brought to council back in January was for the Shepherd Hill site and preservation of Susan. That was like the initial plan that was presented during that time. So I just had asked the attorney to clarify with their attorney if we needed to have an amended resolution. So that's what they were looking into, just for the record.
Thank you, Councilwoman Mills. The Chief of Staff.
I don't think we need to amend that resolution. At a certain time, if the tribe does want to do a new resolution, we could put one forth that says, to not reprogram the funding and build the facility at any site. Just keep the construction money.
Yeah, I would.
Councilwoman Little Hawk
Yeah,
Weston.
I don't think we need to amend that resolution right now because somewhere down the road, even though we move in a direction of two tribes, and hoping that Rosebud does come back on board, that maybe we might want a new site, so I want to keep it the way it is.
Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston, was he making a motion to amend that, or?
Could I yield the floor to the attorney for the Great Plains?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm Myra Munson. I'm attorney for the Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health Board. Your legal counsel, Ms. Hughes, came and asked me, was there a need to amend the Resolution 1902 that authorized going forward? And in my view, there is no need to do that. The resolution is adequate as it is to support the projects that are presently underway. The construction project can't go forward without all three tribes. A separate resolution at some point may be appropriate if there is any opening to move to a new site. But at this point, there isn't. The Shepherd's Hill site was dependent on the board getting the construction project, which required all 3 tribes to authorize it. One of them isn't. So the Shepherd's Hill site isn't even available at this point. If at some point it became available, it would be appropriate then to perhaps to do a new resolution. But the current resolution is adequate for what's happening now.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Munson. Mr. Greenwald, Councilman Greenwald, do you have something?
Thank you, Chair. And Miss Jennifer Hughes, she was in a meeting with us earlier this afternoon. All 3 tribes agree that the building will be built as is at the location up at Susan. We all agreed to that. This should not affect anything that has to do with the building. 2 separate issues. One's a building project, one is our 638 into the services. The building we all agreed at would be built right at Susan, no changes to anything of the design or anything. So IHS should start the process of that this summer. They should be starting to do next month. They should be moving earth. They should be moving buildings out of there. They should start the project. So there is no, the issue of where the building is going to be at is a dead issue now. It's being built right there at Susan where it was proposed to be by IHS. Is that my correction? Yeah, and the 3 tribes agreed to that.
Yes.
Rosebud agrees to it.
Thank you, Councilman Greenwald. So we will be moving on with the agenda. Our Chief of Staff.
Good afternoon, everybody. I guess I'm requesting to go into executive session. I have one issue I need to discuss with everybody.
Okay, I will call us into executive session at 17:09.